Hello everyone, and welcome to the Community Pharmacy Lancashire and South Cumbria Evening of Excellence podcast and Meet the Winners. And I've got to say, your host today, Mubasher Ali, Chief Executive at CPLSC, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined by three outstanding community pharmacy leaders in the profession who are recognised at our recent CPLSC Evening of Excellence Awards ceremony, and together they represent some of the very best in community pharmacy, demonstrating innovation, resilience, and entrepreneurial spirit, and an unwavering commitment to patient care, which is most important. So, without further ado, we're going to just go around and get some introductions. So, gents, first of all, massive welcome to all of you. If I could just go through individually and perhaps start with yourself, Mike, the overall winner, as it was. And if you could all introduce yourself, your pharmacy, your team, how did it feel to be recognised at the CPLSC Evening of Excellence Awards? And if we can also, what does this achievement actually mean to your team and your local community? Over to yourself first, Mike.
Thanks, Mubasher. Well, I'm Mike Ball. I own Broadway Pharmacy with Cure Clinics, which is based in central Preston and Fulwood. We were absolutely delighted and thrilled and shocked to, first of all, be nominated, and then secondly, to win the award on the evening. It was a fabulous evening. It was great to take the team and for them to see firsthand and to celebrate together. Just one of the nights of the year for the team. Thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. Great to hear that. Move over to Sajeel if we can.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, Mubasher, for the invitation, and thanks for Mike and Nurul being here. And thank you for Community Pharmacy Lancashire for organising such a brilliant evening of excellence. My name's Sajeel. I'm the director of Nurul Islam Pharmacy, NHL Pharmacy in Preston, and also Brunshaw Pharmacy in Brunshaw Village. And sorry, what was the...
No, just give us a bit of a flavour. What did the evening feel like for yourself and your team and your community?
It's actually a really proud and humbling moment for me, to be fair. For the team to be recognised, we never expected to be essentially runners-up to Fantastic Mike, and the team were incredibly proud that we achieved some recognition for the hard work that we'd all been putting into it. So it was a really proud moment. So
it's so really nice to hear that. Of course.
It was so nice to see their parents,
of course.
Pharmacy, we're one big family, and it was really nice to see their parents. Such
very humbling. It was wonderful. And they also shared the fact that they really enjoyed the evening. Very proud, everybody, of all of you, which is great. Over to Nurul.
Hi, I'm Nurul, and I'm from Brunshaw Pharmacy in Burnley, and part of the Iman Healthcare Group, which has over 50 pharmacies dotted across, mainly across the north of England, but more or less one pharmacy everywhere.
One pharmacy everywhere. That's lovely, isn't that great? Yeah, covering the whole of the UK. Lovely, lovely.
We like to be recognised.
Absolutely.
And it was a nice experience being recognised by Community Pharmacy Lancashire, and it is an achievement, and it is recognition, and we're proud of being recognised. We've worked very hard, especially since the pandemic. Community pharmacy
absolutely
across the country has worked very hard, and just to be recognised, it just puts into perspective the work that we have done and what we have achieved, and it makes us feel good. On a personal level, I felt very proud of myself, and my team are very proud, and it also means that the customers have something to talk about.
Yes,
the pharmacy,
yes,
and they're proud of us as well, because they can see the hard work they do.
Lovely,
put in.
Lovely, and of course your trophies. Hopefully it's on show.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Yeah. Lovely.
It was just nice to have an evening where we were all able to just park temporarily.
Yes.
The stresses and strains and pressure that we're all under, to then just switch off, and as teams and as a collective, just to really enjoy an evening that was, honestly, Mubasher, you and the team, it was a wonderful night.
And it's humbling to hear that. And to be honest, gents, that was our main outline of the evening. We're trying to bring national recognition to a local level. As you suggested earlier, everyone's working their socks off. we're under the pressure, but there has to be a time where we recognise our individuals. And he just created a really nice, positive environment. And thanks to all our sponsors, of course, and all our leads as well, and all the guys who came to help support with the evening. And thanks to yourselves and all the rest of our nominees as well. Okay, gents. I want to try and get the best out of you guys whilst I've got you today. So I've got a few themes, a few set questions that I'm going to throw to all of you, if that's all right. And the first theme I have is, no surprises, the entrepreneurial journey, right? You're all very experienced in the field and also experienced in the community pharmacy, local, yeah? Let's start with that first. How many of years have you been at that site, Mike?
So as an employee, I've been at Broadway Pharmacy since 2010.
Wow.
I was privileged to take a minority shareholding in 2014 and then very blessed in 2019 to buy the remainder of the share.
Long-standing, again, community pharmacy is the spirit. And that's hence why we're classed as the core pillars of primary care. Oh, how long have you been at your site? Your primary site?
Yeah, so I actually qualified in 2007. We set up the New Orleans Pharmacy, NHL Pharmacy, 2012.
Lovely. A long time. Over to yourself, Nurul.
So we opened up Brunshaw Pharmacy in 2009. And so I've been there for 17 years.
You see, plenty of experience. And we want to try and gather all that and hopefully share it for our managers, our new entrepreneurs, those guys even in the area field, etc., across our patch and wider to take some learn. So on that entrepreneurial journey then, if I can I start with yourself side first? Yeah. And I think if we can, perhaps entrepreneurship obviously involves taking calculated risks, naturally. Yeah. It's a business. But what has been one of the boldest decisions that you've made that positively impacted your pharmacy?
For me, it's the boldest decision is not accepting mediocrity. It's actually making sure that each aspect of the entrepreneurial journey is the best outcome for me and the business. So, for example, making sure that we invest our time and effort in the staff to make sure that they are confident enough to deliver the services. And so taking that calculated risk and time and investment in that individual, because from there, we know that they can provide the best service to the patient, essentially.
Absolutely.
And from there, we're identifying then the unmet needs within our community. And it doesn't always come from me, it comes from the team that we've built. And if they've identified and recognized that this is an unmet need, as a leader with a vision, they can help support the mission on making sure that the best quality of healthcare can be.
And I think that is a core to sort of business strategy, isn't it, for yourself? So I'm going to just flip that and just continue with yourself just for a second before I come to the other gents. So if you could therefore go back and give yourself advice, okay? Go back in time throughout the years that you suggested you were at NHL Pharmacy and give yourself advice on the first day as a pharmacy owner. What would it be?
For me, the main advice is don't be scared to ask for help. Build up a network, speak to your local pharmacist, speak to other healthcare professionals. Don't do things in isolation. You may think you're doing the best you can do, but until you go out and speak to other people and expand your network, you don't realize how much you don't know and what you could potentially achieve. And I think for me, if I was to, that would be the main advice: go out, speak to other people, collaborate, and support one another. Because
we're a wider community. Yeah.
No, I think that's some great advice. I think for me, I'm very much a risk averse person. So for me to jump in very early on in my career to start my own pharmacy was very daunting. And part of my mindset was, if this doesn't work, I'll just go back into management elsewhere. And because I know that businesses can fail.
Of course.
Businesses do fail. Where we opened, there was no surgery. At the time, proximity to a surgery was critical.
Yes.
Where we were a mile away from the nearest surgery. But we kept plugging away, putting in the effort, putting in the hours. Not necessarily marketing. We thought our customer service will do its own talking.
Quality, patient care.
100%.
That drives the business.
Never drop standards. We always try to maintain a high level of service high level of standards, whatever we do. And I try to instill that into the staff as well, so that we continue to, succeed in business.
Fantastic.
And be able to provide that same level
Fantastic.
of care and service for the patients.
And many years you've been going on. Mike, go on.
I was just going to say one thing many things I resonate with there, but in particular is surrounding yourself with mentors, with other colleagues. Sometimes that can be quite daunting to reach out to people that you admire, that you almost idolize. But I think if you can find that confidence to reach out to those people, the vast majority of them are going to want to afford their time for you because they've been in your shoes. So yeah, really resonated with Sajeel there. I think in my early days, I made a beeline for people that I thought I could learn from you.
Yes.
So that's really good advice.
And I'm just going to continue that with you, Mike, if you can, because you've gone into almost a bit more of philosophy there than what you hold. So, what business principle then, or leadership philosophy, if you like, has helped guide your success?
Building on a lot of what's already been said, it's for me, treating my patients or the way that I work with my colleagues. It's about behaving with that person in front of you in a way that you would behave with a family member.
Yeah.
It's affording that individual your time, your attention, your respect. Because what I have learned over the last 20 years as a pharmacist, which is scary to say this year,
Congratulations.
is that you never know what's going to come of giving that person your attention. And far too many times now, thankfully, mainly positively, has that come back to really benefit me. Giving that individual in front of you that piece of time. It might be 10 years later, but I have lived experience of, put those hard yards in on every interaction with a member of staff or with a member of the public. That's never not yielded success to me.
Wow, brilliant. Gents?
I always emphasize, especially to the trainee pharmacists coming through, maintain professionalism and respect. Doesn't matter what their background might be, what they are. They've come to us as a patient.
That's right.
And we need to make sure we treat them as a patient. And
on that basis, I think this is where community pharmacy in itself as a profession, what we bring, just looking at the history that you guys have just shared, your journeys, your learns, that where community pharmacy, I think, is at its strongest. Accessibility, availability, from counter assistant to the senior pharmacist, some independent prescribers as well, for the future and current. It just means there's an avenue. Any ailment, any condition, we're there and support. Our doors have always been open. So I'm going to continue on that sort of theme, gents, if I can. NHS services. Let's switch to delivering NHS services at scale, if you don't mind. I'm going to start with Mike this time, if I can. So, also, community pharmacies are now delivering a lot more than the historic dispensing practice, if you like, shifting into the NHS service. So how have you yourself and your team successfully embedded essential, advanced and locally commissioned services into your daily operations?
First of all, we've no choice but to embed our essential services because we'd be getting in hot water if we didn't. So let's just assume that's
a given.
That's a given. Obviously, when it comes to advanced services, for me, the writing was on the wall back in 2015-16. I can't recall the exact date. It might have been the 17th of December 2015, when we had that letter from Dr. Keith Ridge, and where that for me was my immediate pivot moment in time. That service has to be where we prioritise our efforts and how we look forward. So in terms of advanced services, we tinkered with MURs and NMS for the first 10 years or so, and whilst in various areas around the country there was different opportunities in terms of enhanced services. When the advanced service around, for example, flu came on board, for me that was something that we saw as an opportunity commercially, but also to start to build that. We are a clinical destination, a healthcare destination.
Fantastic.
For patients.
Yeah.
And then obviously, we roll forward 5 or 6 years. We sadly have the pandemic come about.
Yeah.
And the way our sector responded in the hour of need, not just in the vaccination program, but with how we kept our doors open from March 2020, when lots of other healthcare provisions closed the doors. But then coupled with how particularly Iman and Sajeel and my pharmacy and many, many others around the country, you know, the way that we pivoted and reacted and put ourselves in harm's way for the vaccine program is something that we should all be incredibly proud of.
Incredibly proud, absolutely.
And
some big achievements.
I think across our organisations and very locally, so I know the Iman Group spans countrywide, but if we look about our impact in Lancashire, you're talking about the best part of 1 million patients being vaccinated through
and at pace.
And at huge pace. Not just pace, Mubasher. It was, you know, with a moment's notice.
Yes.
Can you stand this up here? Can you go into schools? You know, can you go and do housebound? Can you go and do harder to reach? Can you go into, you know, we all stood up and said yes. And that's where pharmacy and pharmacists and community pharmacy, that's where we really came into our strength, because we are entrepreneurs. We are people that will take educated, informed risk, and we were all prepared to do that.
Yeah, and all came together.
We're a resource.
Yes.
Yeah, the NHS need to recognize that we're a good resource.
Yes.
And I think even as lockdown happened, I was on emailing them straight away, because I said, look, make use of us. What can we provide? What can you suggest? I've got this. I can offer this.
Showcasing your opportunities, options, your availability to the NHS services.
And as soon as was it December 2020 when they got a breakthrough the vaccines, straight away. Even before an expectation of interest. Even before the
you were ready to.
I was ready, because we've been vaccinating flu and Mike does tens of thousands every year.
Yes.
We were ready. We were ready, and we, like you said, we were the only ones that were open. Doctors, dentists, hospitals closed.
Yeah.
And we persevered. We worked on. I can say we never closed for an hour.
It was that,
the whole pandemic period.
And it was that continued education to the public as well about our wider impact. So I'm just going to come to yourself. I'm just going to say that just ever so slightly then. So if I was to highlight or ask you what particular or which NHS service had the biggest positive impact in your patients and why? So we've heard around the COVID, but I want to ask you specifically for your patch, your site, which is that the single NHS service had the biggest positive impact for yourself and your community?
Currently for me, and building on with what Mike and Nurul have just said, currently the biggest impact is the blood pressure NHS service. Blood pressure is a silent killer. It doesn't really have signs and symptoms until it's too late.
Yes.
Pharmacists, we're accessible. We're the anchor of the community. We've already got a very good relationship and trust with our patients. And for us to be able to be in a position where we can actually identify something and potentially do something about it, if you're an IP or not, it speaks volumes that everything feels like it's shifting towards this momentum of the new NHS plan of hospital to home, prevention, diagnostics. It all seems to be going to that way, and it's publicly and nationally being recognised that pharmacies are in a fortunate position. And if we're funded,
I can see Mike wants to come in. Don't worry, I know you are. We'll get to you. If
we're in a funded position, if we have the right support, the right workforce, we've already discussed what we can achieve with very little. So imagine if we had the right infrastructure behind us to deliver all these services at scale.
Well, that's a strength in prevention, where we are accessibility. Over to Mike.
What I just wanted to just come in with there was, it feels like, let's not talk about contention, but it feels like with the hypertensive case finding service that it's really brought primary care together.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're not trusted by our primary care colleagues in general practice, but this service in particular feels like they now truly value our clinical contributions.
Yes.
And, it's exciting, not just for the commercial uplift of having NMS on the back of it, but to see that you perform BP, you do your ABPM, and then 24, 48 hours later, there's a script for amlodipine coming through. That feels like a turnkey solution that's working really, really well. So I've got to agree with you.
It's like an end-to-end, isn't it? It's collaboration at its best. You're preventing future issues, strokes, all the risk factors that come with high, and it's a silent killer, as you suggested. And because we're the trusted partner, we are part of the community, and we're bringing those patients in, and they are, because they're trusting, they're understanding, a chance to hear from and be served by the people that you have at your teams, your cancer systems.
Recognising our contribution more, I think, because of it, and because they're seeing that joined up care, I think it is building that self-perception.
So So if I can just come to yourself on this one, a little bit of a follow-up on what we just discussed, if I may. So what opportunities then, do you see community pharmacies over the next few years then? What do you see?
Well, a lot of pharmacists are now independent prescribers, and we were one of the sites across the northwest that did the Pathfinder sites for prescribing.
Excellent.
And Mike as well.
Yes.
And so I really enjoyed it. I think it does need to be funded, and I do think that going forward, that would be something that we can focus on. I know they've touched on it without much detail.
Yeah. This is the national context you're highlighting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Without much detail. But going forward, I think, again, as a resource, community pharmacists, especially now that the current batch that have just qualified are going to be independent prescribers as well, we can maximize and utilize that resource, those personnel, to be able to stop prescribing for minor conditions or specific areas, whether it's optimizing medications, whether it's depression, whether it's for asthma or COPD.
A whole host of conditions, yeah.
Well, yeah.
We are available and ready. What we need is a commissioned NHS service which is financially viable, and we are here for the public and the patients.
What one area that I like to focus on is mental health.
Yes.
And whether it's something as simple as depression. Now, working in when I did my prescribing, I did it in a GP practice, and anecdotally, this is my view. I don't know what the stats are, but to me, I probably saw about 20% of patients were for depression and anxiety symptoms. That's something that community pharmacists are well placed to be able to, initiate treatment or continue treatment. There are obviously more complex cases that will require a higher level.
Of course.
But
those are experts.
Vast majority of the cases, we're talking about good 20%, we could easily deal with those.
And how good would that marry up to the new medicine service and the addition of depression? We're just slowly coming into that field.
Well, it also means that, we can work to guidelines better. So as pharmacists, we see patients that are started on antidepressants and then they're kept on it lifelong without much follow-up. And we know that you need that cognitive behavioral therapy as well.
So continuation.
Having that conversation, whether it's, initiating, optimizing the treatment, and then taking them back off it.
So if I just hold you for that for a second. So optimization, you're talking about, which again, we believe we are experts. Could that be shifted then? Perhaps into a community pharmacy setting. If meds optimization, and we are the experts in this field, could that not be transferred into community pharmacy as a setting on, optimizing people's meds and looking and reviewing? Is that a possibility?
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
We're the experts in medicines. Why wouldn't we be the place that does that?
They're already doing it within pharmacists, within GP surgeons.
Yes. But my point there, though, is if that's a collective primary care and we are the two core pillars, then is there a necessity? Why couldn't that be done at our level with our expertise?
There's still capacity there, and that should be, between the
It's a possibility.
both sectors.
What's your thoughts on this one, side? Let's hear from you as well.
So obviously medicine optimization, I think it just builds on the MURs and things that we've already established. So we've kind of been there and we've done it. And obviously there's a lot more scope. I think we are quite diverse, a very diverse profession. We're not very modular or very vertical, very horizontal.
Yeah.
So where Nurul's mentioned about mental health, I think more investment needs to go into the profession in terms of looking at a patient holistically. So we do, obviously it's not funded, so we do private testosterone, menopause, GLP-1s. And from the conversations that we have and the time that we spend with an individual, we identify that people are put on depression medication when it's a symptom of menopause or vice versa. People have sleep problems when it's a symptom of when they're looking at sleep, weight loss. There's so much interlinkages that we need to look at a person holistically and give enough time for us to. And if you don't have the expertise, give enough support to the new qualified. Start somewhere, but as an advanced prescribing pharmacist, I see things in a different way, and so much support can be given to an individual, and we can address so many issues by having that conversation, do the optimization, reducing medication being issued, and then that changes scope of preventative health, And then we look at other things like social prescribing and the effect of that, because we work with a voluntary
We could
care
also
sector.
start to tie in with those. In
And-
fact, within our locality, we've got a few pilots running where we've actually tied in with direct referrals from community pharmacies into social prescribers. There's not a necessity then, therefore, to burden our GP colleagues.
So currently with that,
But it also impacts obviously the wider society. If people aren't depressed, they can get back into work sooner.
Of course.
And
A bigger socio-economic impact as well to the whole country. I'm going to sway that a little bit now, gents, because we've looked at those opportunities, but that can't happen without advancements in technology. So if I can just shift the thinking a little bit now onto sort of innovation and technology, which I know is playing an even bigger part. We're in the AI sort of field now, yeah? It's growing at a rate of knots, as they say. So if I can, Mike, perhaps to yourself, have you introduced any innovative processes or technologies at your site that have significantly improved, say, productivity?
Yeah, so in Broadway Pharmacy, for example, we adopted a new PMR 4 years ago now, and that was a pretty wholesale shift in approach to how we run our dispensary. So we use a PMR system that essentially removes the pharmacist from the physical operation of the dispensing process. It digitizes that entirely for the pharmacist. The pharmacist will perform all of the clinical checks at the start of the dispensing process entirely digitally. And as you mentioned, the system that we use has adopted AI to support that throughput. So where it's clinically safe to do so, then a good chunk of those clinical checks are now performed by AI under the stewardship of the responsible pharmacist. So we've seen a wholesale shift in our pharmacist capacity and how they position themselves in our premises because we've adopted this PMR system. So, you know, our pharmacists now are almost entirely patient-facing.
Fantastic. I was just going to come to that page because what I take it what's happening here is you've created a capacity, additional capacity of your pharmacists, your clinicians, to therefore free them up, utilization of the AI, which is a later function, the PMR, to be able to deliver the so-called NHS services that we just talked about earlier.
We just look over the last 24 months or so,
yes.
Pharmacy First.
Yes.
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 BP.
Yes.
And whilst it's great news that there's been support around funding for PTPTs, and there's been obviously legislative change to support how pharmacy technicians can support
the regulatory adjustments and changes, yes,
with the provision of clinical services, we've put an awful lot of pressure on our pharmacists because we've just thrown a whole load of work on them. So, how pharmacies are existing now with PMR systems where the pharmacists are still actively involved, both clinically and final check, I have no idea. What I didn't mention earlier with our PMR is post that kind of digital clinical check the pharmacist does, they're almost not involved anymore.
Yeah, fantastic.
We use a combination of barcode scanning technology and ACTs to do final check on things that can't be scanned. So take the pharmacist out and position them in front of the patient.
And then you're allowing them to work at the top of their license to achieve other areas. And where we all know, obviously, with the NHS, the payments, the financial implications that we all have, I suppose it allows you, therefore, to go into those private arenas as well, to become sustainable. So how is perhaps the PMR system for yourselves? But if you go to Nurul first, have you made any adjustments or innovations?
So we've invested in a new company that deals with the PMR system. So
quite a common theme we're getting here.
Well, business has moved on, and you have to change with the times.
Yeah.
The volume of work, I mentioned, is growing exponentially for the pharmacists to do so. But in order for us to maximize our potential as a business as well, is to focus on the pharmacy services, the NHS pharmacy services, and some private services now as well that patients are willing to pay for. So these systems these new PMR systems allow us to have more time to spend on doing these services, spending time with the patients, and being able to.
I think that's what they value the most, don't they? Well, that patient interaction.
I'll go back to the pharmacist is your biggest resource, or the most valuable resource. We need them to be able to do the most valuable work, whether it's talking to a patient, whether it's provision
of private services, NHS services,
whatever it might be. we need to be able to make sure that they're doing that and being able to be free to do that.
But I've got a
Not
slight,
part of the discussion.
I've got a slight flip to that now, and Sajeel, we're coming to you for this one, right? We're going to flip that just a
Thank you.
little bit, because if we have such innovation, I suppose you have to have some balancing, don't you? I suppose you have to balance innovation with maintaining the personal relationship, because that's what you just touched on. So that makes the community pharmacy so special, is that personal interaction.
That's the sweet spot.
That isn't it? And I suppose it's the balance. I suppose if you go out of context, so what about your location? How have you managed to embed that into your teams? Utilization of new PMR systems, digital technologies, and of course to share any that you also have been involved in.
So similar to Mike, we've got the same PMR, and I think we started about the same time. So kind of building on what Mike has mentioned, all the different useful provisions that PMR provides. But essentially what it does, it reduces us as the bottleneck, and it allows us to be real entrepreneurs, so a clinical entrepreneur, so we can provide our clinical knowledge and deal with the various conditions that we have to do. As a contractor owner, as that particular entrepreneur, it gives us mental capacity and width to look at our business holistically, and it allows freeing up the capacity then to see more unmet needs for our patients. And as we said, we've been there from day one. We've been in the back of the dispensary. We've done dispensing. I've mopped the floors. I've cleaned everything. From day one, from when we started the pharmacy to where we are now. And for me, it's allowed me to pull myself like on a helicopter view, and actually instill this within the leadership team that we've created. So our pharmacists who are working now underneath us are getting our entrepreneurship, and they can
Get that mindset,
the mindset right,
get that passion,
That's
that
it.
innovative sort of way of thinking.
And not just the pharmacist, we've taken a step further where we're instilling that within all members. So for example, the techs, even the drivers, every department, essentially a driver, a dispenser, they've got an entrepreneurship and ownership. They've got an understanding of what their role is and for the bigger picture. And therefore, if everybody understands the vision together, we can make an exceptional healthcare environment.
And I suppose
we've got quite a number of pharmacies, and the feedback from the pharmacists or the managers in those stores is that we don't have time.
no, we don't.
We don't have time. We don't have time to focus on the services. Okay, so these new technologies and new systems means that, and a new way of working.
You're freed up.
Now you got
Yes.
now you can make some money.
You give me a perfect segue there, I've got to say, because there's one core element I think you've all just touched on there. Workforce, but I'm going to combine this: workforce, leadership and culture. I think you've all sort of stepped in that field, so I thought that's the perfect segue for me now. And I'm going to come to yourself, Mike, if I can, because this is always going to be a tough environment. For all of primary care, you can argue, all four pillars. No different for our GP practice as it is for our sort of dental practitioner, etc. But for us in particular, our sites in the communities. So recruitment and retention, we know, remains a bit of a major challenge in certain key locations. So how have you yourself, with the business context you shared earlier, have you adapted your workforce modelling to meet these sort of changing demands?
Yeah, it's a tough environment out there, but I've always had the mindset and the approach to investment in my people, and that's because without our people, we're pretty useless. And so, the things you're going to expect me to say, we pay them well, we look after them, all those things. But I'm privileged in my business, and I took on a great business when I joined as an employee, and then as an owner. That right now, as it stands, I have over 350 years of loyalty in Broadway. We celebrated just this last week one of my members of staff who's done 25 years with us.
Fabulous.
And we took the opportunity. Fortunately, with our core and supplementary hours, we way back when in Preston, surgeries used to close on
a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, so
those were the days.
So historically, our core hours on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, not historically. To this day, they only run till 1
o'clock. Wow. So you had some additional supplementary.
Yes.
I can see where this is going on, I think,
So our 1 till 6 trading on a Thursday is supplementary.
Wow.
Now, of course, in the recent contract announcement, it's something that potentially we're being encouraged to do, to look at how we can actually then afford time in the working day, albeit behind closed doors without patients.
Yeah, for the training. Exercise, yes.
With training. So one quick recent example is we decided last Thursday to invest in what is a scary amount of kind of closed business. We closed the pharmacy at 1 o'clock.
Wow.
So we closed for 5 hours last Thursday. And if anyone knows Fullwood, it's like closing the pharmacy. But obviously we planned that well, we communicated that well, and we spend that afternoon first and foremost doing some staff
training,
and build on the technology question. We're imminently launching a brand new application for patients to download. A brand new website connects with our PMR system and our clinical management system of how we deliver both private and soon-to-be NHS services in a consolidated one system.
Like an extended CRM modelling, which combines everything together.
We had a great training session on that, but then I took 40 of us to the Italian Orchard in Preston. And we had
what an opportunity,
celebrating this particular individual's 25-year service. So we've got to look after our people. I know it's tough times. We invest in our people. And I'll reveal my sort of.
That's retention at its best, I think.
Self-indulgence as an owner, as a business owner, as a leader. I don't think I had a better feeling in recent times than I had last Thursday. When I could see my team, see their appreciation, their enjoyment, the camaraderie.
Fantastic.
Sharing the success, sharing, the loyalty to this individual. That was a lovely feeling.
It is whenever you go out for a staff meal. And I think it is then that you
it's
see
encouraging
that people are happy.
Because it's never ending. Healthcare, and I always use this phrase, healthcare is never ending. You choose to be part of healthcare. And community pharmacy plays an important and critical part of that across all locations.
We're retail business and healthcare business. Two sectors where nobody wants to go into work anymore. and it's hard. It's a hard graft.
But you guys are managing that. Why? Because you're innovating. You're adjusting to the times. I was saying,
there are people who just wants to work from home on a telephone or a laptop. There are people who will be happy to do a delivery job for a supermarket or even stacking shelves in a supermarket rather than working in healthcare or in retail. It's
a satisfaction as well we get, and those individuals know, from our delivery drivers to our counter assistants to our trainees to our MVQ2s, our advanced technicians, our acquisition. We've got a whole host of roles in community pharmacy now. It's about making sure everyone's aware.
When you have good staff and you know they've got good potential, they don't have to stay in pharmacy, but you need to give them opportunities and a reason for them to stay in pharmacy.
But I'm going to ask you a question on that then. I'm going to just ever so slightly then. So if it was a leadership, it was a lesson that you were highlighting for these, what has emerged from managing workforce shortages? What have you learned over the time? Because obviously you've been there for a while now. You must have seen a lot of attrition, a lot of change. And how has that then, your changes, allowed you to expand your services? How did you do that modelling?
Winging it.
And that's one for note, people. Absolute winging it here from Brunshaw Pharmacy, but
No,
genuinely.
You learn as you go along because nobody's going to teach you HR, and you're going to have to pick that up as you go along. What works for one person may not work for somebody else. What motivates one person is not going to motivate somebody else. So, and then even in the same environment, but the same room, you've got different people working to different paces, different motivations. Yes. So you need to be able to
build on their strengths, focus on their weaknesses.
Again, focus on their strengths and weaknesses, and take it from there. And you know your stuff on what their capabilities are, what they can and can't achieve, or what they can and can't do. But you either motivate them and help them, or they end up breaking. So you need to be able to find a way of adjusting and making that work. Most pharmacies are small teams.
Yes.
So even having one person not pulling in the same direction, it's going to keep you back. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to let those people go. and you might not be able to work with them, but sometimes you find real gems and you just, you're happy.
And sometimes it's difficult to find those gems though amongst everything, but sometimes you can also chip away to create those gems. And I'm going to ask you for an example, Sajeel, if I can come to you, because at the Evening of Excellence, there was a few of your team members as well. And just to see their proud faces across, I can't tell you how privileged I was in the evening to lead that event with my fantastic team as well. Played a critical part. But I've got one for yourself. Can you share an example then? You can see how the link appears for the Evening of Excellence of a team member who has gone above and beyond and made a real difference in your community for your patients.
No, thank you for that. Welling up a little bit from the evening again, actually.
That's what we brought to the evening as well.
Yeah.
We're just wanting more and more. Like, we want to go again.
Yeah, so again, feeling really proud again from the evening. So in terms of the enhancement, so we had Shazia. She's been with me for quite a long time. Again, welling up.
Yeah, of course. I can't tell you how impactful this is and how proud you feel, as did Mike as well. On the evening, I was very privileged to be at the front. I was hosting the... And I could see emotions, and I just felt they had to continue. So please take your time. This is your time, and I know you're recognising your teams, which means a lot to you, and that's fine. That's what these podcasts are all about.
Yeah, no. So obviously Shazia was basically with me as an apprentice quite a number of years ago, unfortunately. Yeah, quite a few years ago. To be fair, from her journey, we didn't actually see eye to eye, and it links in obviously with what we were discussing in terms of the workforce. And many times she didn't listen to what I said, and sometimes she did listen, and we went back and forth. And sometimes, as you get a lot of experience in your profession, and you have an eye for somebody, and even though we didn't get,
yes,
it's a good healthy exchange to a point where you want a bit of back and forth, and ultimately we had a shared thing of the patient coming first. So from an apprentice doing level 2 to level 3 to ACT, and now the manager between our store and the other store that we have, she's had a real fantastic journey.
Fabulous.
And never saying no. And we've taken it, as I say, beyond where we're just dispensing and managing. She's our menopause expert. We were on an evening where she was with us, and we're going to all
it's a really
extra...
important part. Women's health across our sector. My team were real drivers of this, and we want to continue. And she did play an important part. It was great to see her as well at the event, the menopause event.
So even today, we've had a menopause consultation, and she's feeding back to me, and we're having these discussions, and really enjoy it. So for me, you can't have innovation with cuts. You've got to invest in your team. You've got to invest in the premises. If you ever saw NHL Pharmacy when we first started, it was a blank canvas. My background is my parents are entrepreneurs, I suppose. My dad's done many different businesses. He worked in the markets. I've worked in the markets with my mum and dad from when I was 10 years old. So, for me, I'm potentially of a generation. Even though I might not look it, of a generation of real grit of the older generation where, I worked 100 hours for 6 months.
The hard graft, as you used to call it, yes.
Yeah, for 6 months on my own or with a minimum staff, and we developed from 0 items, no one staff, and built it up and to where we've got, quite a lot of staff. So investment in the team, the staff, the premises, everything is investment. And unfortunately, even though there isn't enough coming in from the NHS, we've had to use our entrepreneurial brain to find other sources of income to keep funding it and keep growing, because ultimately it's about creating the right innovation, the right health hub, and
to remain sustainable.
Keep growing.
Because you are also leading and supporting team members, their families, and that's what we keep echoing through our national colleagues as well at CPE around the adjustments and regulatory adjustments that you've highlighted. It all comes at some sort of cost, every service that we deliver, and it's been hard. So again, I'm just going to go into this final little piece because it's important we keep this in support of the managers out there, the entrepreneurs, those leaders out there coming into the business. We've had a lot of change of ownerships recently as well. So I'm going to go into rising costs, but financial resilience as the core key category to end, if we can, to really hear additional top tips from yourselves and some realistic pieces. So if I can, I'm going to start with Mike first, if I can, with this one. Now, we know the sector faces significant financial pressures. We know that. We hear of it all the time. And we're doing everything we can at a local level, national level, lobbying, etc. But from those pressures and rising costs and funding challenges, how have you yourself, with your business, adapted your business model to remain sustainable?
So, fundamental to running a business, it's important you keep on top of your cash flow forecast. And it's a lot of things that sometimes independent or new owners won't even think about. We think going in there, being great pharmacists, delivering great customer service, the business is going to be fine. But when you bring into the equation things like wholesalers bringing forward their direct debits, the government in some instances doing nice things like bringing service revenue, pulling it through into the advance. All of a sudden, you can either have a false sense of security or the opposite. So numero uno is you have to be on the money. So
financial flows. Know what's happening every day.
So cash flow forecast.
Such a big advice.
Really,
such a big piece of advice.
For new owners, it's something you need to be keeping on top of. Yes, we have regular points in the months where we get certain levels of revenue, and most of us have consistency with retail revenue, etc. But just make sure you do those forecasts. So cash flow forecasting is really important as a practical aspect. In terms of then how do you actually convert that cash flow into profit? Naturally, sadly, we must become less reliant on NHS service revenue.
As the pressures increase,
So that's not for 1 second am I suggesting we start to not prioritise NHS care. But the honesty is those patients come through the door, we have to see them as opportunity where relevant,
of course,
to broadcast and showcase all services that holistically we can.
And all the items that you've suggested in the earlier session. Absolutely.
So naturally, if I isolate in my business, believe it or not, despite approaching 30,000 NHS items, if I isolate 30,000 items worth of dispensing, we'd run at a loss if I did not.
Wow. That just indicates quite clearly why we need financial resilience in some format. Efficiencies, your technological advancements, your innovations. Those who will sit there, and that's why we've had so many closures over the last few years. It's so good to hear that.
And we're not going to get help from the NHS. We're not though. When you're dispensing 70-80% of your medications above drug tariff price, it's not a sustainable model. And then I know a lot of independent individual pharmacists that are putting money in themselves just to stay afloat or keep their, paying their staff.
And the impact of price concessions. They're going out the roof this month, it's staying on top of that is taking so much effort and time.
And you have to wait until the last day of the month to, think whether
you don't want to hope for the best. And,
this is it. And unfortunately, it's not sustainable. We need to have a better forecast system or a better way of managing. The NHS know they get the data from the wholesalers. They can act sooner. So we need to put pressure on the NHS for them to act
and I suppose that's the biggest advantage, and thanks to our national colleagues at CP as well, that we've now got reform on the agenda. We've all had the opportunity, our Northwest events, and many of the contractors and colleagues have as well, and others in LBC footprint at CPLSC covering our distinct community pharmacy contractors. We've also echoed that, both as a board and local, to really try and prioritise that reform agenda. And dispensing at a loss, unsurprisingly, hope is at the very top of that list. Because if it isn't, I think we'll be struggling. But I just think that's a good approach from CPE. But if I could just continue with that, with a sort of question before we sort of come to the end and close if I can. Saj, perhaps. So what efficiencies have you implemented specifically on your site without compromising patient care to be able to achieve this resilience?
So for me, it's innovation technology. So we've obviously already mentioned the PMR provider that gives clinical capacity and availability. We're fortunate that we've diversified as well. We have an optician's practice within there, so we can look holistically at the patient and see how we can provide best care against optometry and pharmacy. So even within that particular PMR that they've got, we've used innovation there. We've got a more structured approach to the day rather than kind of firefighting all the time. So we've tried to implement key things throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, and give people breathing space and time to kind of grow and achieve what they want rather than just I say, run of the mill, keep working. Again, we're investing in our technology, so we've created our own AI platform and solution for triaging, and that is the hope that it will actually prevent people going into secondary care by early diagnosis, early screening, and as prescribing pharmacists and optometrists will be in a position to actually prevent people going there, because we can actually treat what the ailment is, close that loop, and if not, we'll refer that person into secondary care at the right time in the right department, and I think ultimately it will have a better care. So yeah, it's a structured approach, more systematically, and obviously finance is the biggest one, but after that, then that's the next point.
Also, like I said, from a bigger group point of view, all school tactics of shrinkage and wastage.
Yeah.
We recognize that there are
Don't throw away your cash, basically, that you're earning.
They're not doing. They're not being efficient with checking off. Goods that are coming in.
Wastage, cash wastage.
Wholesalers, day checking to make sure that stock is in.
Absolutely.
That's not going to be wasted. We can repurpose that in another branch somewhere.
Because those old school tactics never are lost. They should. Every business needs those.
I did it like a 3 months running. I did it on our store itself, and if we didn't claim for all the missings, you're talking about 3 to 4 grand.
Wow. And we're already struggling, as you just suggested, so that would be a big hit.
Multiply that by 50 or, so there is potential for a lot of money to be wasted. But yeah, closing that side of things is very important.
It's important. And we see variance.
Driving that is very important.
Variability, and again, for our sort of new contractors, new owners.
They don't even send you invoices anymore. So you have to constantly go onto their portal, download. Sometimes the delivery drivers don't turn up, so you're forever chasing which order this totally.
And this is what our patients don't see. This is what they don't see, because they shouldn't need to see, but we have to deliver. But we need the NHS guys to understand, and the ministers.
You're losing a lot of money, because sometimes one talk going amiss might have thousands of.
Absolutely.
So, it's happened to us where we've not had something delivered.
We're just going to shift.
They don't tell you that it's going to be.
He's off on one now. There's no stopping him now, is there? I think
he wants to take your job.
I think he's definitely hitting the nail there. I think we really got you started. Just on to sort of closing reflections, if I can, gents. It's been fantastic. Yeah, so much insight and reflection. And that feeling of being so proud as well, that's probably been a mainstay of the efforts today. But in terms of closing reflections, I'll probably just ask a single question to all of you, just to share your insights, sort of brief insights, if that's okay. So what advice would you give to pharmacy owners and managers looking to elevate their services and patient care? What specific pieces of advice would you give? Just in a brief context, perhaps if we could start with Saj first.
My probably advice is what I mentioned at the beginning, is what I would give myself is reach out for help, ask for support, discuss it, don't keep it closed, and then invest in yourself, invest in your staff, invest in your technology. There's so much technology with comparison websites to methadone dispensers to pickup points. There's so much technology, so it all comes at a cost, but eventually it improves efficiency. So yeah, that's probably the key points.
Fantastic, great. Any builds on that one, Nurul?
Embrace new ideas, new ventures, new technologies, new services. Embrace it. Some things you like, some things you won't like, but these are going to be new revenue streams.
You have to get involved, and test drive it.
Yeah, and maintain standards.
Lovely.
Yeah, because that's how you'll retain, patients. And
strict governance, patient. That's what our profession brings. Mike, to finish with yourself.
I think I would say that it is important you prioritise time to spend on the business as much as in the business. You're not going to do any of the things that we talk about over here unless you give yourself the bandwidth, the headspace.
Brilliant.
So, even if it's modest to begin with, if it's an hour a week to begin with.
Yes.
But if you, as an owner-operator, genuinely, I believe you need a day a week minimum to work on your business.
And this is we're in a fortunate position where we represent such a vast number of contractors across a vast geography as well, and we often get a lot of queries and questions, and that's what we get from contractors. It's that misunderstanding or naivety, if you like, that they're so in it, yeah, that they forget. A bit like what your view before, helicopter view. You have to sometimes step away to get an understanding of cash flow implications. So of course.
Just one more point of advice, and for especially new contractors is, take it to a point where you're comfortable, but don't compromise on the key points. And for me, the key point is family time. At the time when I started, I didn't have a family, I didn't have a wife. I was just work. Then obviously you get married, then you have a child, then you have a second, then you have a third. And obviously with my parents, and I think you don't want to I got to a point where I was more in the business and not enough time at home. So I think
work-life balance.
Really,
yes,
that's a key thing, because if you get that right, regardless of if you're doing 1,000, 10,000, if you're doing £1, if you're doing 1,000,000, you're happy.
Happy wife, happy life. Is that what I'm hearing from yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely right, and that's good for your business. So what we have is right at the very end, just a quick snippets now, gents. I always like a bit of a bonus rapid fire round. That's the one, and I've got a separate one for all of you. Yeah, so Nurul first. Yeah, rapid fire, by the way. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Biggest opportunity for community pharmacy.
Prescribing.
Oh, straight in there. Okay, independent prescribing, self-prescribing. So, Saj, then, best leadership lesson that you've learned?
Give people ownership and a vision and a mission.
Fantastic. And one for Mike. What's that one technology you couldn't live without?
The phone.
Apart from mobile phones. In a community pharmacy setting, which one would it be for you?
Beaking machine.
I think it's the PMR.
Back to the because it's the central unit, isn't it? I've heard that a lot from all of you. Investing in the right modelling, but that is the one where you talked about a lot of advancements earlier.
PMR. Or business operating system, as they want to call it.
The naming and modelling will continue to evolve. Gents, can I just say, from ourselves, Community Pharmacy Lancs and South Cumbria, from myself, Mubasher Ali, it's been a pleasure. The insights and what you've delivered and given us today is going to be crucial. So on that basis, I just want to say again a huge thanks to our panel for today. Our guests share their experiences. We are looking forward again. No doubt we're getting a lot of interest on the Community Pharmacy Lancs and South Cumbria Evening of Excellence. We can't wait for the next session we're hearing. We want to definitely win it this time. So we will go away and do what we can. And I just want to say again a huge thanks to our panel and over and out from me. Thank you.